we just didn't quit. And I think a lot of people who try to do what we did or try to do other things, they quit, they stop short. And a lot of people ask, well, why didn't you quit? And the reason we didn't quit is if you start a company, very simply, you have to know something no one else knows about your business. Otherwise, why are you doing it? And why doesn't it already exist? And I remember at one point, my life was like, I was in a car and the road in front of me looked exactly like the road behind me. And that kind of terrified me, and I wanted to take a detour. So I had this moment, I'm sure all of us have these moments in our life where we make a change and everything changes after that. I quit my job, and I have an old Honda Civic. I put everything I own in the back seat in the trunk of old Honda Civic, including a rolled up foam mattress. I have $1,000 at the bank, and I call up Joe and I said, I'm coming to San Francisco. And it turns out that Joe said, well, the rent is $1,150. So I actually can't pay rent. It turns out that weekend, this international design conference is coming to San Francisco. We go to the conference website. All of the hotels on the conference website are sold out. And so we had this idea. We said, well, what if we just turned our house into a bed and breakfast for a design conference? Unfortunately, I didn't have any beds, but Joe had 3 airbeds. We pulled the airbeds out of the closet. We inflated the 3 airbeds. We called it the Airbed and Breakfast. And we ended up hosting 3 people, a 35-year-old from Boston, a 30-year-old from India, a 45-year-old father of 5 from Utah. But what ended up happening was we ended up becoming friends, and we made enough money to pay our rent. At this point, we say, we're ordinary guys. I bet you there's a lot of other ordinary people like us that want to make some extra money, meet cool people. I asked Joe, I said, well, who's the best engineer you know? Joe said, well, my old roommate Nate is. And so the 3 of us got together, and we had a simple idea. What if you can book someone's home the way you could book a hotel anywhere in the world? And that's how it started. The first round we raised was $20,000 of capital. Like, that was the first round we eventually raised. I think that startups today are overcapitalized. I mean, easy for me to say now, but things get expensive with scale. But you don't need millions of dollars to start an idea. And actually, we almost have a rule that unless you have fixed costs, like you're in hardware, you have fixed costs. Ideally, you don't need any capital to create a prototype. Ideally, your co-founders, all with sweat equity, can create the product themselves. But there's this bigger lesson there, which is this. I think we just didn't quit. And I think a lot of people who try to do what we did or try to do other things, they quit, they stop short. And a lot of people ask, well, why didn't you quit? And the reason we didn't quit is if you start a company, very simply, you have to know something no one else knows about your business. Otherwise, why are you doing it? And why doesn't it already exist? So the big question is, what do you know that no one else knows about your business? You need to have a unique insight. And we had a very simple, unique insight. And it was totally by happenstance. In other words, we randomly rented our home one weekend. And so our unique insight was, it's actually not weird for strangers to stay with other strangers. And you can make a bunch of money, and the people who travel there can save money, have an amazing experience. If people could just experience what we experienced that one weekend, this would be an idea that would spread out in the world. And again, maybe thousands of people one day would use Airbnb. And that was our unique insight. And so that was kind of our North Star. And so we just kept thinking to that first weekend. That's why we kept going.